John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing, March 1st, 2025. You know, a number of things on my mind, but I think this week what we're going to see are some signs of early spring. I'll try to point those out. And then remember, I've been talking about this late March temperature pattern change. I've talked about that for weeks now. I've sort of hinted about it, and it's getting closer. I want to talk about that as well. So let's get started. So as far as the weather impacts this week, it looks like we're going to have quite a few weather impacts with a strong spring storm. And that's typical that we're fighting between winter and spring. And what we have here is we're going to have a front passing through early in the week with heavy rain, high winds, a severe weather risk. Here's our severe weather risk over the south central U.S. into the southeast. That's pretty typical for an early spring storm system. And then once that goes through, might feel a little bit more like winter again. But spring is trying to get started. This is the spring leaf index anomaly. Blue shows where it's later than normal that those first leaves have started to poke out. And red started to speed up in these areas in red. So it's trying to get started. And this is about what we'd expect. Sort of slowing down, speeding up. That's not unusual as it sort of goes along with our overall temperatures. Okay, so rain and snow last week. Here we go. We had a very active Pacific Northwest, Seattle, and the higher elevations of the Cascades. And then also in the south central U.S., some heavy rain, some streaks of snow up in the far upper Midwest, as well as the Northeast U.S. But really, large parts of the nation, pretty quiet last week. So here's where we had some snow last week up here. And I wanted to point out, remember that post I sent out and I showed you how much melting was going on? Well, we melted a lot of snow. Anything in this area here, we melted. And there's not much on the ground. So when we look at spring snowmelt flooding, it looks like the purple here, the Great Lakes and the Northeast U.S., those are the regions. This will be very isolated onto our main stem rivers, and this could be more significant in the Northeast. So temperatures last week, we had that warming here, and it melted all that snow. Yellow, a little bit above normal. The sort of orange here, that was 10 degrees above normal, and the red, 15 degrees above normal. And we made it up into the 60s anywhere in green, and even up here in parts of Minnesota, North Dakota, made it into the 50s. So a little bit of a taste of spring in areas that have had a harsh winter. And I got a post I'm putting out this week that'll talk a little bit more about winter conditions. So another thing I've been sort of talking about is the La Nina influence on Ohio River Valley precipitation, and you can see how rivers are running still on the high side. Nothing all that spectacular right now. It's come down a bit, but I do think this is an area we need to keep an eye on, and even this week that's going to be where we're going to get the heavy rain. So rivers are starting off on the high side, so even some modest rain could bring that up. Okay, so I talked about this pattern I've been talking about for a long time. I sort of kept my fingers crossed because when you're talking about something so far out, this was a month out, the confidence isn't all that high. But this is a Pacific ridge, and this is our ridge of high pressure. And what that does is it digs a trough in the west and it bows the jet stream north in the central and east. And over the central and eastern U.S., that can bring some warmer temperatures. So let's see what the models are showing in regards to that. So right now what we have is this weekend, we have a chilly weekend in many areas, especially the Northeast, with this dip in the jet stream right here. But this is what we're watching for the precipitation and the severe weather this week. Another Pacific storm bringing rain to the Pacific coast. Now by Tuesday, look at this here. This is a very potent, might even be a negatively tilted system, which enhances the upward motion right here. And that is going to bring our action this week, and that'll be gusty winds, severe storms, heavy rain, and flooding. So what we see when we look at temperatures here, I'll first talk about temperatures and then I'll talk about rain and snow. Looks like above normal temperatures, but then as that front goes by, things come down again. But I don't see signs of really extreme cold. It looks like it brings it down to normal, maybe even just a little bit above normal. Then here's mid-March. Here's our Pacific Ridge. And what we have here is we have the dip in the jet stream in the west with the cooler weather. And then pretty much east of the Rockies, we really start to warm up. This is 10 to 20 degrees above normal in parts of the Midwest and Ohio River Valley. But like I said, as far as the big story this week, it looks like severe storms, and we're pulling up all this moisture from the Gulf here. You can see it being pulled up here. This is precipitable water way up into Illinois, even Chicago, if you sort of trace where the moisture is coming from. So it's going to be a soaking rain right in this region here, and you can sort of see where that will be. Anything in purple here, over an inch of rain. So soaking rain and severe weather over the south central U.S. Any snow? Well, here you go. We're still looking at higher elevations of the west, Great Lakes, especially the lee side of the lakes that are don't have much ice, and that's about it. Okay, and then finally, this is the extended here. For many weeks, I've been talking about looking at the CFS model climate forecast system. Now it's beginning to show up a little bit closer in here. And take a look at this here. This is week 2. This is weeks 3 and 4. So it could really, spring could really really hit us here in this starting in maybe later in week 2 and then going out. This goes through the rest of the month of March. By that time, climatologically, we're getting close to April. So we could see some pretty big changes here if you've been looking forward to spring. And obviously, the way I'm talking here, you can tell I am. So that's the outlook here. Be cautious for those severe storms this week, mainly Tuesday and Wednesday. It looks like it could be a significant outbreak. That's this week's briefing. Take care.